Hey, how you doing tonight? What can I get started for you?
Yeah, I'm doing good tonight. Another busy day at the ballpark. Now I need something really, really good. You got something really good for me there?
Of course I do. I have exactly what you need. Jack and Cano coming right up.
All right. Well, hello, everybody. Good evening. We are called Jack and Cano. First off, let me thank everybody and apologize at the same time. I was a little bit under the weather. I did not sound good. Everything was ugly for me. But hey, we're getting together again. And I think that tonight is going to be a very informative show. Right, Jack?
Let me just say, I'm happy to have you back. Although I'm very happy that we're not in the same room. So
I've been sneezing a lot. I've had a runny nose for the longest time, and as you can tell, I'm still a little congested. But it did prevent me from doing a lot of the stuff that I normally do, and doing the show was one of them. But I feel like I'm back, and we're gonna have fun today, Jack.
yes, absolutely. We have a great show planned. I think we kind of prepped the audience that we'd be talking about memorabilia and certificates of authenticity, which sounds simple, but there's a lot we can talk about.
It's a whole
Um,
world.
it is. But we could go ahead and recap what happened last week. Who was here? I don't even trying to remember.
Oh, that cool guy from
Ah,
LA.
Cancun Kenny.
Tell him what happened, Jack. What they missed.
Yeah. So, Kenny came by, spent some time with us and talked about his different experiences during COVID, going to baseball games because he, had an opportunity to go to the World Series, which is awesome in itself. But it was a very different World Series, very limited attendance, even though, Texas was pretty much wide open, I think, at the time. Small crowd, the experience that hopefully no one will ever experience again. So, definitely if you missed that, go check that out. Cause he talks about that. And then obviously he was at one of the first games for opening weekend, to get the Mike Trout bobblehead last week. And that was, an experience in itself as well. And he gave us kind of an idea what to expect when we head back to the ballpark.
And we also talked about a couple other giveaways that took place. One of them was the St. Louis Hall of Fame cars.
Right.
That was, I believe, Stan Musial.
Buck and LaRussa.
There you go. Yeah, three brand new cars. I believe that there's other cars that have been released over there for the Cardinals. And we also had the Adrian Beltre in
Yep.
the cowboy outfit with the cowboy hat. Of course, Armando has those all day, every day. And so, yeah, that was a very, very nice show that we had last time. Very, very entertaining. You know, you never know what you're going to miss. Today is going to be a very informative and a very good show. And this is going to be more of Jack's world on this one to be listening firsthand at what we're going to be talking about. And that is going to be memorabilia and everything and anything that comes along with it. What is memorabilia? What does it entail? All of that. And we also have some questions, Jack. We're going to have questions for you.
Yeah. So, memorabilia is obviously a very hot commodity right now. During the pandemic, I think a lot of people, they were stuck at home in the beginning for the most part. So they gravitated back to old hobbies, which included collecting memorabilia. Sports cards have exploded. I mean, I think sports cards are more popular than maybe they've ever been. And you're seeing, some of the dollar amounts that people are getting for some of these cards that come up are just insane. So, people just got back in touch with their hobbies and kind of things that they enjoyed because they had a lot of free time, and you can only watch so much Netflix, I guess. So, thought it would be a good opportunity to let the audience in on what to look for when you're looking for memorabilia so you don't get taken. I mean, you spend a lot of money on memorabilia, cards, etc., and you want to make sure that you're obtaining something that's legitimate and that you're going to be able to turn around and sell if you ever needed to, for any reason. Say that you needed it for some family emergency or something, you need to liquidate your collection, you want to know you can get the value out of it, or just you want to sell something to buy a different item that you want to add to your collection. So it's unfortunately I've seen so many people get ripped off. It's very disheartening, and I think can even turn some people off from collecting memorabilia because they don't even know where to begin.
And there's a lot of stories out there, documentaries, movies, obviously about a lot of the stuff that was going on back in the day, especially during the Mickey Mantle days. And
Right.
there's, I believe, a big old documentary that I saw recently that had to do with his signature specifically.
Yep.
So, all of these, the things that are in place now, all of these certifications, and Jack will get into that, all of these things that he'll mention are there in place to protect you and protect the investment that you've made into this piece of memorabilia, no matter what the case may be. So we'll talk about the certificates. We'll talk about, the reliable ones. Jack probably has a few that he knows about that have been faulty in the past. And I
Right.
know that I think it was Beckett, right? They just came out with their brand new sticker.
Yeah, we're going to cover what each company's been up to recently. But yeah, we'll cover the decal stickers. I mean, that's kind of the main thing that you're going to see on most pieces of memorabilia is a decal sticker. It's like a security sticker, they call it. It's basically a sticker that has the number, the certificate number on it to identify the item in their database. And it's they're basically if you try to peel it off the item, it's going to leave like pieces behind, and so you can't just like take it off and transfer it to a different item. Or and we'll get into that. A lot of those come with cards. Some companies are doing away with that. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then there's other things like letters of authenticity for higher dollar value items. You got player holograms, and then you might be perusing some sites looking for memorabilia, and you'll see something called GTP. You're like, what the hell is GTP? That's something that graphers like to use called guaranteed to pass, meaning that they're guaranteeing the item will pass authentication. If it doesn't, then they should be giving you your money back. Now that promise is only as good as the person giving it to you. But if you do see GTP, that's most likely what you're looking at for that.
And I know that that's one of the programs that we used for a couple of the bubble graphs that we had on the page last year. And I know that at some point we'll talk about, this huge collection that a friend of mine actually got, and all of them are legit autographs, every single one. And the ones that we did have a kind of question about, we submitted it,
Right.
and they passed, and they're good autographs. So we'll get into that at some point too.
Yeah, that's coming up. So we could start off, but I can tell you kind of my first experience with a fake.
Okay.
Because I've been collecting memorabilia for several years. It's what started getting me into breaks, etc. But uh, when I first started, it was I didn't know anything. I was like most people. You see a COA or a certificate of authenticity, no matter what the company is or who it is. You don't know who it is, and you're like, oh, this looks legit, right? So I guess it's got a COA, right? So and that's what a lot of people think. They're like, oh, here's a certificate. It looks
It's
official.
legit.
Okay, so it must be good. And so I bought this helmet. I'm trying to remember. I think it was a Dalvin Cook actually, because it was a Florida State lid, and it was some JT Sports memorabilia or something, like a generic company name. I think I got it off eBay, and I was talking to somebody that actually worked for JSA, funny enough, and we were talking about what this person's autograph looked like, and I sent him a picture of it, and he's like, yeah, that's definitely not a legit autograph. So that was kind of my first run in with a fake. And then I had some other things where as I was running another page, we'd get some items that came in. They were actually Mike Allstott helmets, and they had a specific COA, and I don't really want to get into which company this was, Not a mainstream company, but people may see it out there. And so the signature looked pretty close. And but when we talked to this friend that worked for JSA, they said, oh, well, most likely that's a fake. And so they looked at it and they're like, yeah, that's definitely fake. But this company, I had another helmet from this company actually, that had a Devontae Freeman autograph on it. And I had actually taken it to camp, and gotten Jameis at the time. He was a rookie, I think, that year, or maybe it was his second year. And I got Jameis to sign it. It was a Florida State lid. So I showed him that signature from Devontae Freeman, and he actually said that actually looked good. So kind of what we decided, I think, is that this company, maybe mixes some good stuff with bad stuff.
Okay.
So I mean,
To remain, is that to remain positive, or why would a company do that? Or why would they risk obviously getting caught?
well, like I said, this isn't a third party authenticator. It's more of like somebody that would have a signing and stick a hologram on an item.
Okay.
And it's basically, they'll put their hologram on stuff that's legit, and then they'll sneak in some fake stuff. So they're trying to get their reputation up to say, oh, well, I've seen those autographs and they look great, and so I don't see why other stuff that they're selling wouldn't be good. And there's a lot of actually companies out there that will put a legit autograph up on the website, and you'll say, oh, it looks good. And when they send you one, they actually send you a different autograph because it's a stock picture that they use in their listing. And then they send you something that's actually fraudulent, has a fake. You may not even realize it, because they're faking the holograms.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll get into that as
Wow, that's
well.
dirty. So on
But
that Freeman, you got lucky pretty much that you got a good save.
yeah, I got lucky because especially since it was on a helmet that I got it, I got another signature that was an in-person signature. So it was, definitely would have sucked if I would have ruined that that
Yeah.
experience of getting that first. That was pretty much the first autograph I've gotten live, and that was at camp. As far as what companies are out there that that you're going to see that are legitimate companies, and this is by no means an exhaustive list. I mean, there's plenty of other companies, I'm sure, that have legit holograms, and but the main companies are JSA, it's James Spence Authentication, Beckett, I get PSA DNA, Radkey. MLB actually has their own hologram, that they do use for signings as well.
Okay.
The NFL doesn't necessarily have their own hologram, but they do do a lot of auctions, online auctions. I'm sure a lot of people have been to the NFL auction website, and you can get items there. So there's actually a COA that's on there. It used to be, I think, PSA DNA did a lot of those, but so NFL has that. Obviously, you got Fanatics, who's becoming a beast in the memorabilia market.
Huge
They
player, right?
purchased, yeah, I mean, Fanatics purchased Steiner and several other companies. So there's Steiner, that used to be kind of a standalone, but that's under the Fanatics umbrella now. But you're still going to see a lot of Steiner holograms. Upper Deck is one of the big players that I think they're struggling a little bit now, but they really dig in on exclusive athletes. So like Michael Jordan is like, that's Upper Deck. If there's not an Upper Deck sticker on your Michael Jordan autograph, it's most likely fake, or it's people don't want to trust it even if it has another COA company on it. Besides Upper Deck, a TriStar, which used to have a Tom Brady contract. He was exclusive to TriStar, but he actually just changed when he went to the Bucks. He changed to Fanatics, and we're going to talk about him here in a little bit as well. Panini is big, not only in cards, but they do a lot of signed memorabilia as well. Kobe Bryant was with Panini for a long time. You have other companies like Schwartz, Prova. Prova was a company that Emmett Smith started, and I think he tried to get it started to kind of solve some of the problems of having fakes in the marketplace.
Okay.
And if you look at a Prova card, it has like a special like tag in it that has like some type of a tracking on it. So, they were trying different things. I think Prova is a really good cert if it's a legit Prova cert. But those are the main companies that you're going to see. Like I said, I'm sure I left out a few, but those are the big dogs, so to
Those are the
speak.
major players.
Right.
All right, very nice. And then now, were there other big ones back in the day for those that do have some certifications from like their dad's collection or anything from back in the day? Anything else?
I mean, so that's part of the problem is, some of the older certs, you're gonna find those in the marketplace still. But they're easier to reproduce and forge. So
Okay.
unfortunately, a lot of those are gonna be, mixed in with the forgeries. But so things like um stacks of plaques and mounted memories. You're still going to see a lot of those in the marketplace, especially mounted memories. But there's a lot of fakes out there with mounted memories because it was so easy to
Duplicate.
duplicate the holograms, etc. Um, but and then there's everyone's favorite company, global authentication, which is GAI. And you'll see a lot of people that'll say, hey, I have some legit autographs with Global, because when Global started out, they had a lot of legit autographs. So but then things kind of went south, and pretty much anything that had Global after a certain point, it was all fake.
Oh wow.
So it's, anytime you see Global, you're going to want to have that authenticated by another company, because most people that are aware of how the COAs work will not accept Global. Which is I wouldn't take something with Global on it.
Note that in case you guys have anything out there, you guys see anything out there that has global on it, more than likely it's a no-go. So that's good to know.
Yeah. So, we could talk about a little bit about the types of certs, and you made a mention of Beckett changing their hologram recently. So, that's something that started to happen recently. And I think, not that forging hasn't been going on forever. You mentioned a documentary. I think that you were probably referring to Operation Bullpen, maybe. And these guys were freaking experts. Basically, they were faking Mantle, they were faking Babe Ruth. I mean, they had the signature down where they could almost fool, a third party authenticator. They would take the balls and they would like shellac them, and they would make them look old and put the signature on there. And the reason they're doing that is because Mantles and Babe Ruth balls, and they're just becoming so expensive, so
Yeah.
they can make a lot of money if they can make it look somewhat legitimate. And so this happened recently, actually, with Tom Brady. So, and I was victim to this, and luckily, I had the pieces I had purchased at the time. This was several years ago. I purchased them off Amazon, so it was through a third party seller. But luckily, I had Amazon to back me up. So when I found out that they were fakes, I was able to recover the money that I spent on them. Other people were
Okay.
not so lucky. So with Tom Brady, basically the old TriStar hologram, that someone figured out how to copy it, have it reproduced. And so what they would do is they would find a legitimate helmet that has a real Tom Brady autograph. They'd take the cert number off that helmet, and then they would forge that cert, so they would come up with a hologram sticker that was pretty close. It would fool probably the normal person that just looks at it and says, hey, TriStar, I know that's where Tom Brady signed, so it must be good. And I look the number up in the database and it matches. So it has to be legitimate,
Yeah.
not knowing that they took a legitimate cert, forged it, forged a signature, put it on the helmet, sold it for $1,800. And now that person's out $1,800 and they have a fake helmet. So then what
So
do they?
duplicated everything.
Yeah, so they forged a signature, which is not a great forgery, but if you kind of know what to look for, it's not a great forgery, but it was enough to fool people. And obviously, it fooled me in the beginning. Obviously, I know a lot more now than I did back then, but it's sad. So this started being, there's a couple guys that were really big Tom Brady collectors, and they have a Facebook group, and it's Fran Lafat Flash and Jonathan McCusker, and there's a couple other guys that were involved originally, but they actually kind of figured it out, and they talked to TriStar. Actually, TriStar was involved. They knew of these two guys, that they were long time Brady collectors. They knew Brady's autograph inside and out, and so they actually helped bust up this ring. Not to say that these forgeries are not out there, because there's a ton of Tom
Yeah, I'm
Brady
sure.
forgeries on eBay. So just FYI, if you're listening and you're looking for Tom Brady, you gotta be very careful. So they actually have this group on Facebook, and they actually started doing authentications for free for a long time, but it got to be so overwhelming that now they still have this page. It's available, and we could link it, but it's like called 100% authentic Tom Brady, and they'll charge like $10 for an opinion. But these guys know Brady better than anyone, and actually all the authentication companies actually know these guys. They talk to them. There's been times when the a Tom Brady signature shown up on there, and it had like a fake hologram on it from that particular company, and they were actually able to get it taken off eBay, which is unheard of, because eBay doesn't
Wow.
really do a good job of removing fraudulent items. But so these guys were totally legit, knew Tom Brady's autograph. So what TriStar did is TriStar took that information, and what they did is they changed their hologram. So they made it a multi-layer hologram, much easier or much harder to duplicate.
Yeah.
And you've actually seen Beckett recently do the same thing. They added also with TriStar, they added like a QR code on there as well. And so there's multiple different things that they did to kind of improve their hologram in the process. The descriptions of the items that they put into the database, try to be more specific, so they can't just be the forgers are lazy, right? If they could find a hologram that says Tom Brady helmet, well, then they can forge any helmet, right? But
Yeah.
if it's, specific, like Speed Authentic Eclipse helmet or whatever, then it's a little harder for them. They have to like match up the actual helmet and everything else. And, maybe they're,
Location of the signature, maybe even an angle or anything like that, I would assume.
yeah, I mean, and that's the good thing about like JSA and PSA DNA, when they have like certificates of authenticity, the actual letters, because they'll put a picture of the item on there, so you can kind of match the photo up.
Okay.
A lot harder for them to forge. So anyway, back to the holograms. Yeah,
Yeah.
Beckett's doing the same thing. They're changing up their hologram. Um, you know, uh, I think that's pretty much it right now. Fanatics is having a major problem right now, and I think we're kind of waiting to see if they do anything about it. They're such a big entity now. It just depends on whether they think it's worth the time and effort to make the changes. But there's a lot of Tom Brady fakes out in the marketplace with the Fanatics hologram. So be
Wow.
very careful with Tom
Already,
Brady.
huh?
And yeah, and it's amazing. So if you're interested in collecting Tom Brady, I would definitely join this Facebook group. You'll learn a lot just by watching the opinions they give, and they point out things about the Fanatics holograms and why they're obviously no good, but they're looking at the signature, right? So and I think that kind of would lead us into a discussion about, well, how do I know if now legit certs are being forged?
Yeah.
How are you supposed to know what to do? I don't,
Well, anything can
like,
be forged nowadays. Anything can be duplicated
yeah.
nowadays. I mean, with technology the way that it is, and with people being as computer savvy as they are, and pretty much they come up with their own programs to make some of this stuff happen.
it's
So
it's sad too, right? Because you feel bad when you see these auctions going on eBay, and there's people bidding 12, 14, 15, $1,600 on a helmet that is fake. You could just look at it and see the signatures doesn't match up. You look at the hologram's messed up. You know it's a fake hologram, and there's nothing you can do about it, because generally, even if you report it to eBay, they're not going to take it down unless one of the main companies contacts them. Then they're pretty quick to do it. But there's just so many forgeries on there that they just don't have enough time to pull them all down. Even, so it's definitely on the buyer to make sure, they're paying attention. And, so what do? You look for the cert.
Yeah,
Hopefully
of course.
you find a cert that's, legit, like one of the companies we talked about, hopefully.
Yep.
And you need to start looking at the signature. And you don't have to be an expert to kind of look at a signature. And certain athletes, you can go through a bunch of legitimate signatures, but find one that has a letter or something that's associated with it and kind of match them up and look at them. And you can kind of tell if something doesn't look right. It's basically what the authentication company does. What does JSA do when they look at an item? 'Cause you can send it into them to get authenticated, right? So, JSA or PSA DNA or any of these guys that are third party authenticators, they're going to take a look at the autograph. Well, what are they looking at? Well, for most of these companies, they have these databases, which has what they call exemplars, which are
Okay.
basically autographs that they know are legit, that have been, probably vetted through other sources. Everyone agrees, other authentication companies agree that these signatures are definitely legitimate, authentic signatures for that person. Could be anyone. I mean, they have a huge database, athletes, uh, famous people, celebrities, etc. And so they take a look and they compare the signature to that, number one. And what are they looking at when they look at the signature? Okay, it looks similar. Some of these forgers are really good, right? I think some of them are like artists. So they're very good at copying.
But once
And
they have it down, I mean, why
yeah,
stop? They
right.
spend so much time trying to perfect, a loop here or a long line there, that once they have it down, it's like, shit, let's just bring me everything and I'll sign everything like that. So,
Exactly.
that's just to give an idea as to how much stuff is out there. They practice, 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 and once they get it down, it's nonstop until your hand stops hurting.
Pretty much, and if they can get it closed, that's all they need, right? Because there's enough people out there that don't understand COAs that, they're just going to fall for it. But so other things that they look for. So, some people will be like, well, I don't get it. Like, this looks so close. Like, how did they fail it? Things they're looking at the slant of the signature. Some athletes sign at a certain angle and they sign every autograph that way. So they can tell by the slant of how the autograph, is it slanting upwards, is it slanting downwards? Most athletes, when they sign, they're going to sign the same. They're signing thousands and thousands of autographs. It's almost automatic for them, right? So another thing they look at is flow, and you can tell forgery sometimes by just taking a closer look at the autograph, and you'll see where the pen stopped. Because the forger is looking and they're trying to copy everything, right? So the pen stops. Well, you can see that if you take a pen and write on a piece of paper and you stop and then you move it again and then you stop and you move it again, if you look close enough, you're going to see the hesitations in that signature. So they're looking at flow. They're looking at the pressure of the pen. It should be even pressure throughout the autograph because they're not trying to, when the athlete signs it, they're signing right away, right? It takes them 2 seconds. Forger is going to take longer because they're trying to get everything right. So they look at pressure. I mean, they get into a lot of different things, especially with older autographs, because they know like certain paper was in a certain time period. They know certain ink was available in a certain time period. They're going to look at the ball or whatever that it was signed on and make sure that that ball is from that era. It's simple things like that, right?
Very detailed.
There's so much that people don't think about, like certain helmets, like maybe you look at the helmet and you're like, oh, this is from Fanatics, and Fanatics is not a third party authenticator, so they're not taking a helmet that was signed 5 years ago and saying, oh, let's put our hologram on it. They're only putting their hologram on stuff at signings when the athlete's signing the item.
Right then and there.
So if you have an athlete that's never signed with Fanatics, or maybe they signed only a certain time period with Fanatics. They know that, right? So they're looking at the type of helmet that was used, and there's other ways that they can look at. But it is, you could go online and kind of do a search about how authenticators look at things, and you could get into the weeds on it. There's so many other things that they look at. And that they can tell just by the medium and the pen that was used, and it's pretty amazing. And not every authentication company is as accurate as others, but it's kind of like you choose the best you can. You kind of use your own eyes to take a look at something. But at the end of the day, authentication really mostly is really just an opinion. So you're paying for an opinion that, yes, this is probably authentic. Um,
But
if
that
you
authentic,
want, yeah, go ahead.
but that authentication does mean that the item is guaranteed to be of some value.
As long as it's legit, right?
As long as,
And authentication companies can get it wrong too, because you'll see if you're on message boards where you have a lot of graphers, right? A lot of in-person autographs are really rushed, and sometimes it's hard to authenticate certain signatures. Or something just doesn't look right because it was signed while someone's running down the road with a pen out the window, and they're trying to
yeah,
get this guy's autograph. And so sometimes stuff will fail and they're like, oh, I can't believe JSA would fail this. I was there. I got the autograph from the athlete. And it's like, look, they're just going by what they can tell, right? I mean, nothing's perfect. But I think the main three, PSA DNA has had some issues. They had their main authenticator, Steve Grad, left, and I think that's caused a lot of issues with them.
okay.
And the quality's gone down a little bit, I think, on the authentication. At least is what I've heard, kind of in the groups and things. And another problem with PSA DNA, I mean, so in the name PSA DNA, it actually, if you look at the cert, uh, when they certify something, they put some type of indelible mark on your item that you can't see with the naked eye, but I guess if they have like a certain laser, they can point at it and it shows up. And that's why it's called PSA DNA, right? It's got like some DNA mark on it somewhere to show that it's legit.
Yeah.
I guess you got to figure out who has these lasers to check your items, but in any case, a lot of their certs are being faked, and they actually came out with a new hologram not too long ago and a new card as well. But I see a ton of fake PSA DNA stuff on eBay, and kind of working its way around Kobe Bryant
Yeah.
items. You'll see people say, "Hey, I got this Kobe jersey, and it's got PSA DNA," and people are like, "Oh, well, did you get it?
Legit.
Did you get it checked again? Because there's a lot of fakes out there with PSA
Okay.
DNA, which there was. So hopefully you might want to get that checked out if you find a Kobe item that has PSA DNA, and make sure it's got like a letter done on it, which people can upgrade their certs, and get a letter for a fairly reasonable price. JSA does it too. Like, some people we get it down these rabbit holes. I want to go keep going down the rabbit hole, but a lot of these companies provide cards that go along with their certs. So like JSA, there's a card that goes with your item, and it has the number that's on the hologram. And some people like that. They display the card or they keep it.
It's like an
Um,
additional thing that'll
yeah, it's just an
show.
extra item. I mean, I guess they feel like maybe that's a good that you have both, right? Because it's less likely the forger is going to go through and forge a card and the everything else, but they do. Uh,
Especially some certifications, or at least I know that there's some where they put some stuff in the back of the frame, for
right.
example, so you can't display it. So with that little card, it shows, hey, it's good, I guess.
Yeah, some people like that, but so like with JSA, if you misplace the card or it gets destroyed, they generally won't replace the card. I mean, I guess they used to, or it's maybe certain ones they can replace. But most of the time they'll just ask you to upgrade it to a COA, which is a full letter where they give you the letter, it has a picture of the item, and a new decal. And with JSA, they'll basically, it's like $25, and you can just email them. You go on their website, email them. You take a picture of the item, the autograph, the sticker that's on it, and they basically will mail it to you right to your house for like $25. So that's a really good service if you're missing a card and you really want it. But a lot of these companies are getting away from cards, and that's why I brought it up. Beckett, like you said, came out with a new hologram, and they're doing away with cards. So they're not going to have any more cards. Some collectors are unhappy about that. But what Beckett is doing is they're saying, look, if you want a card, we're going to give you a link when you go to this to look at the COA, and you can print a card out if you want to have a paper copy of something. But
Okay.
what I've always heard from a lot of people that collect is, don't worry about the card. I mean, the sticker that's on the item is the most important thing.
Okay. And those stickers obviously last probably for a lifetime.
Yeah, they should. I
They're
mean,
they're produced to last for a very, very long time.
yeah,
Here's a
tamper
question that I
proof.
had. So, as you're telling us the details of everything that goes into a certification, all I keep thinking about is all the money that goes into getting these professionals to look at every little possible detail. I mean, when you're talking about the slant of a pen, I'm thinking, shit, that's nuts, that's crazy. But it's also a reminder that this hobby, I guess we can call it as well, this memorabilia collecting hobby, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. So
So much.
therefore, all of these details they have to be put in place so that the ball that you have that you'll pass down to your son because your father passed it on to you, well, you want to make sure that it has all the protection that it can so that you're passing down that value, that investment that you're making in all of this. Now, tell me about, I know that a lot of dads and a lot of us, in fact, back in the days where it was more accessible, a lot of us stayed after the game to wait for these players to come out so
Yeah.
they could sign our baseball, right?
Yep.
So a lot of us, a lot of people out there, they're going to have baseballs that
Yeah.
they got after a game. How can they get these certified, or how does one go about proving or showing, yes, I got this Ken Griffey Jr. when during his rookie year or
Right.
anything like that. I mean, I may be going too crazy with this, but a lot of us do have balls out there that we got
Yeah.
after a game.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to get stuff that you've had signed in person. Maybe you have a trusted friend that does autographs. And I know a lot of people that are like, yeah, I got this from my buddy. I really trust him. He says he got it in person. So they'll be willing to buy those because sometimes you can find deals on uncertified items. If you get good enough at noticing, the intricacies on the signature, and you can kind of pick out the good signatures. There's a lot of guys out there that look for uncerted items because they can get them cheap, and then they send them off and get them certed. I've done that myself. I've picked up some very expensive items that I knew the signature looked good, or there was a reason why I thought it would pass, and I took the chance on it, and got it authenticated, and it passed. It's actually a few Sean Taylor pieces, which is a
Oh
really
wow. Okay.
rare autograph. So we could talk about stuff like that, but really what people want to do, if you have an item that you want authenticated, you're going to go through a third party authenticator, which is basically going to be JSA, Beckett, PSA DNA. I mean, those are the main three. There may be some other kind of companies on the fringe that'll do authentication, but those are the main ones, and those are the ones that are trusted, that people recognize, and it's going to be easier to sell your item if they have one of those. So JSA, they do a lot of authentication shows. You can go on their website, and it'll actually tell you where the next one in your area will be.
Okay.
If you want to go in person, because a lot of people want to go in person, right? They don't want to mail their item off because they're afraid it'll get lost, or who knows. You can go to their offices. I think there's one in New York, and I know they have one in Miami because I've been there to JSA. But most likely, most people are going to go to shows, card shows or sports memorabilia shows. Most of the authenticators are going to be there. You can get your item done there. Or like I said, just kind of check out their schedule on their website, because like JSA will go to like a hotel, and they'll or they'll rent out like a room, and then they'll have people can come in and get their items authenticated. And most of the time it's going to be, the cost is going to be dependent on who the autograph is. So,
Yeah.
someone like Tom Brady, I think JSA is going to charge you like $75 for that, and it's going to need a letter. Once it goes over a certain value, JSA usually requires a letter. So that's another sign, right? If you see a Mickey Mantle baseball and it has a basic certification on it from JSA, it might be fake.
Okay.
Because items that are north of $200-300 generally are going to have a full letter put on them. Now, I'm not saying every item, and there's going to be exceptions. Obviously, JSA has a JSA witness protection, which is basically JSA witnesses the athlete signing the item and then puts the decal right on there. Those are the best items to buy because they were witnessed. It's witnessed. It's guaranteed. It's not. We think this is a good autograph, right? So Beckett also has a witnessed, and PSA DNA has an in-person cert as well, I believe. So, most of those, you'll see those from the signings that are happening now. They usually use those witnessed decals on those, which are great. But also, if you can't get somewhere to get something authenticated, you could send in your items, as I mentioned. JSA will take send-ins as well as Beckett and PSA DNA as well. So just go to their websites, Beckett.com. I think it's like PSADNA.com, and James Spence. Any one of those websites, just check them out. There's lots of information on there, how to submit items, and you kind of mail it in. And most of them have price guides on there too. It'll tell you, especially I know JSA for specifically, you can put the athlete's name in there. It'll tell you how much it costs to authenticate that autograph. So, and if it doesn't pass, you can get a rejection letter. So you could maybe go get your money back if you do have that type of a guarantee in place with somebody, which I've had to do a few times, unfortunately.
Oh boy. Now, I'm not going to sit here and ask you what your most valuable signature is or anything like that, but you talked about your initial stories were, with your bad stories. Tell me some of the good ones, some of the, not necessarily some of the good stuff that you have, but how you came across it or anything that you hold, pretty close as a pretty cool story of how you got something.
I most of my in-person autographs are Buccaneers players, nothing too crazy. Obviously, we couldn't go to camp this year when Tom Brady was there, although I hear he doesn't really sign at camp anyway. There's probably be a madhouse. But
I know one of the things that I see in your breaks sometimes behind you is I see that Tampa Bay Lightning goalie mask.
Mm-hmm.
That's signed by the entire team, I believe. Right now, I don't know if it's a championship year, but I remember somebody saying or mentioning, "Hey, would you want to trade that?" And you're like, maybe not. So I don't know. I thought about that, and that's what made me think about it. Like, okay, well,
yeah. I got a lot of the stuff I've won off the pages, right, from Raz's, and bought a lot of stuff too as well. And that goalkeeper mask, it does have a good amount of the players on the team, and I don't remember what year. But I mean, a lot of those guys are still on the team, so definitely won a cup this past year. But another quick story, and I mentioned Sean Taylor. So I came upon this helmet. It was a Redskins helmet, and it had Sean Taylor's autograph on it. It had Sean Taylor. It had Santana Moss and one other player. They were all Miami grads, and they were all on the Redskins at the time. And so it had Sean Taylor on one side and then the other two athletes on the other side. And I looked at the autographs, and I wasn't an expert on Sean Taylor by any means, and I know his stuff was really rare. I was actually looking for his stuff specifically because a friend of mine, Gene Farmer, was saying something about, hey, I'd love to have Sean Taylor stuff. So I was actively looking for something for him, and I came upon this helmet. and it, kind of looked legit. It had a little card from the team. It said it was a team COA. And you always got to be leery of that because those are really easy to fake usually because it's just like a piece of paper. It does have some
Yeah.
signatures on it, but I mean, I could print that out on my computer.
Yeah.
So, it was a chance, right? And so I messaged the guy and I kind of talked to him a little bit. It was on eBay and ended up purchasing the helmet for $500. And I took a chance. I said, I'm going to take a chance on this helmet, $500. The other autographs look pretty good. I wasn't. There's not a lot of Sean Taylor stuff out there to compare to.
Yeah.
So I took this helmet and became friends here locally with a guy that did a lot of memorabilia. So he got JSA to come to his house a lot to authenticate items, and so I gave it to him, and he had JSA take a look at it. And for something like a Sean Taylor, JSA, most likely the rep's not going to just be like, oh yeah, authenticated here. We're going to put the letter on it.
They're
What
going to
they
take their
do,
time.
well, what they do, and I guess people maybe don't know a lot of the inner workings. For some of the bigger autographs, and I'm not sure if this is a standard practice on everything, but a lot of times what they'll do is they take a picture of the autograph and they actually put it into I'm going to say like a database, but it's like a program or something that sends it out to all their reps, right? So it sends the autograph out to a lot of different reps, and then the rep will take a look at it and they'll score it. And so I guess they look at all the scoring from around all of these different reps, and then they get a consensus that yes, this is a good autograph.
Okay.
So that's kind of a cool thing that they do. And I don't know how often they use that, but I think for something like Sean Taylor, they're obviously going to use that because it's a very high, dollar item, very rare item. Because Sean Taylor, people are listening and don't know who Sean Taylor is. He came out of the University of Miami and played for the Redskins. A great player, linebacker, I believe.
No, he was the free safety.
Free safety,
Free safety,
linebacker, free safety, and I believe so. He got shot, right, and killed, unfortunately. So in any
Yeah,
case,
they were trying to rob his home, and he defended his home, and he got shot and killed.
yeah, I mean, sad. And great player. And so anyway, so I got this item back from JSA, and they said yes, it's legit. And here's your letter. It has obviously this is Sean Taylor, and so and so and so and so. So at that point, I'm like, okay, Gene, let's talk about what we're gonna do with this helmet here, because this helmet is worth a lot of money now.
Okay.
And at one point, I think someone even offered him like upwards to $10,000 for this helmet.
Holy shit.
So, this is a $500 find on eBay. So this is what I'm talking about. If you get good at looking at autographs, and sometimes you can find some gems out there, right? Take a chance, get it authenticated. So did I get $10,000 out of that helmet? No, actually, it belongs to Gene Farmer now. But what I did get out of it is he came into my house here, and Gene's in construction, and he got his guys to put up crown molding in my house, and I got a nice black backsplash in my kitchen. And he painted one of my bedrooms, not him personally, but his guys. And so I got several $1,000s worth of work done to my house off a $500 helmet off eBay.
Oh.
So he has that helmet, and like I said, I mean, after I gave it to him, and it was always intended for him, so I'm glad we were able.
Oh,
to
that's right. You were
out.
looking for him. Okay.
Yeah. That was the only reason I was looking for Sean Taylor, was because of Gene was looking. So and I've done that for several people in the past. Like they tell me something to look for, and I'll keep an eye out. So I've actually come upon several other Sean Taylor items over the last few years. I actually have a couple 16 by 20s that I have. And so recently, and that helmet that I found was a full size Pro Line helmet, which means a authentic helmet. It had the big padding, like the ones like they wear on the field. And it's just you just don't see those in the marketplace at all. You see some photos, like I have some of the photos. You'll see those come up once in a while, but you never see a helmet. And so recently, and it's not that I regretted giving that to Gene, because I was happy that he has it, and I know he's going to keep it, at least for a while. But I did find on eBay another Sean Taylor helmet not long ago, and it was a team signed helmet. And I keep an eye on things, and it popped up, and I took a look at it, And the funny part was it came from Winter Haven, which is like Orlando area. You know, it was like pretty close to where I'm at.
Close. Yeah.
And but I looked at this helmet, and this guy had pictures on the listing, and it's not authenticated, but he had pictures of the athletes signing the helmet. Like, you could look in the picture and see this
Huh.
helmet. So I mean, it's photo evidence. And so it was like $1,000. I think he had it listed at, and I freaking hit the buy button as quick as I possibly could, and emailed him. And I said, "Hey, can you send me some of those pictures when you send that helmet?" And he was very accommodating, and he said, "Yeah, I mean, I've had this helmet forever, and I got it at one of the spring training." And you could see in these photos that all these guys are signing this like at spring training, or camp, or whatever you call it, not spring
Yeah.
training for
Training
football,
camp.
but training camp.
Training camp.
um so I do have that in my case now. It's not authenticated yet, but I don't feel like I would have any problem because I have a picture of Sean Taylor signing the helmet. So
Holy
it's
shit.
it's one of those things where I never thought I'd find another one, and there it popped up. But
And it was right then and there.
like I said, didn't have a COA, and that's probably would turn a lot of people off. But look at the item and look what's with it, and obviously this one had pictures, which you don't really find too often. So,
All right.
uh,
Now, obviously, in this game, not everything is happy. Not everything is peachy. Not
right,
everything has a happy ending. There's obviously some pretty bad stories out there. I'm pretty sure there's pretty bad situations that you've heard of,
yeah.
besides the ones that you've already told us about, that you've experienced, firsthand. But there's got to be something out there, man. I mean, when there's so much money involved, we talked about the documentaries that we see on
Mm,
television on these
yeah.
channels. Uh, tell me something that makes you kind of like say, "Damn, that's pretty jacked up."
Well, something comes to mind actually immediately, and this because
Okay.
it's Tom Brady again. And just for people listening, I mean, I bring up Tom Brady, but pretty much any of the high dollar athletes you're going to look at: Tom Brady, Muhammad Ali, Mickey Mantle, Babe Ruth. These are all signatures that are highly faked, and the reason is because they're worth so much money. Nobody, you you have like a Kevin Kiermaier baseball, and I love Kevin Kiermaier. He's one of my favorite baseball players on the Rays, and I have a lot of Kevin Kiermaier autographs. But I'm not really worried about finding a Kevin Kiermaier faked autograph right now, because I can buy a ball for $40, because it's not in high demand. He's on the Rays, whatever. He's a great player. I love the guy, but the smaller autographs, people aren't going to waste their time generally. I mean, not to say
Yeah.
that there isn't people out there still forging those,
It's
but
not worth going to jail for many, many
yeah,
years.
yeah. I'm not gonna say you'll never see a forged autograph, because I'm sure someone will find one. But you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
The big money is where these guys are going to go, and they can make a lot of money.
Is it
Um,
is it pretty safe to say that Kobe's going to be on that list at some point
Oh,
pretty soon?
he's already on that list. Michael Jordan, I should put him on there. The thing with Michael Jordan is you're going to see a lot of people trying to sell a Michael Jordan, and they're going to say, well, it doesn't have UDA on it, which is Upper Deck. And, most Jordan collectors are not going to buy an item that doesn't have Upper Deck, because Upper Deck's really the only company that's ever certed him. They go to his flight camps, even when he was signing at camp. They certed those, and the thing with Upper Deck is when they cert the autograph, it's always in person. They don't cert anything that's not in person,
Yeah.
and it's just for their athletes. So Upper Deck's a really great company from a certification standpoint. You got to be careful that you don't find a fake one, a fake cert or fake letter. They're very good if you send an email to Upper Deck. You just go to their website, find the email. If you come across an Upper Deck piece, a lot of them will have the photo. They'll match the photo in the database. So you can kind of
Yeah.
go and look at the item. But if there's no photo, which is from a certain time period back, they didn't put them in the database, you can email them, and they'll tell you, yes, this is such and such item. It was signed on this date, and da 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 da. So they're really good about getting back to you
Okay.
too. Um,
That's
so
pretty
yeah,
cool.
so yeah, definitely Michael Jordan. Any of the guys, Kobe. I've seen a lot of his forgeries. On PSA DNA items, I've actually seen Panini items, which is surprising, that are being forged for Kobe. And because they're so expensive right now. I mean, a Kobe jersey can go anywhere from 2,000 to most likely 4, 5, 6,000 generally. I
Wow.
mean, some of them are 10, 15,000. You know, so, and a lot of those are coming out of South Korea, believe it or not. If you're on eBay and you see a Kobe item from South Korea, I 99% would guarantee that it's fake.
I'll
So
buy
just
it.
just FYI, just be very vigilant. But no, it's something that really kind of irked me about this Tom Brady thing. So he had this group, and they do a great job, like I said. And there was a breaker, someone that put their own helmet series together, and they were doing a lot of helmets. Like there was a couple guys, and I think they were doing 40 helmets. And people that have been around a while probably saw this go down if they're in any of these groups. But so they were buying legitimate Tom Brady helmets. So the helmet was signed at a TriStar signing. It had the TriStar hologram, legit signature. What they did is they went in and put an inscription on the item themselves. So 6-time Super Bowl champ, or Super Bowl whatever MVP, or
All the
so
accolades at the time.
yeah. So they're adding inscriptions to the helmet, thinking people, well, they're going to see the signature looks legit. They're going to see that it's got the right hologram on it. I think at the time, maybe I can't remember exactly whether TriStar was putting that information into the database or not. So, a lot of times you'll go into the COA database and it'll say, it may just be real generic, for a lot of these companies, Kobe Bryant, basketball. Okay, well, that doesn't really help you. Some of these companies will put Kobe Bryant, basketball, inscription, 1999 MVP or whatever it was. So, in any case, but Fran and Jonathan are so good at Tom Brady that they knew his handwriting, and they noticed that something was up with this, and they looked into it, and it ended up being that these guys were basically adding the inscription, which it sounds like well, why would they do that?
To a legit autograph, right?
Because at the time, and Brady's prices have gone up now with being at Fanatics, but let's say at the time, this helmet was $1,800 helmet. Well, guess what? You add a couple inscriptions to that helmet. Now it's a $2,800 helmet, because
Jesus.
Tom Brady's not cheap, and he might charge, which he is charging now, over $1,000 for an inscription. I mean,
Jeez.
so I mean, they're adding $1,000 of value to a helmet by just adding a couple, a Super Bowl
Couple words.
MVP. And I think thinking that, well, people don't really know his handwriting, right? They're not going to guess. Like it's pretty easy to just write Super Bowl MVP, and you probably wouldn't think different. So, that's something that really bothered me, because people are getting taken advantage of, and
Yeah.
but it was good. They caught the guy red-handed. I think he kind of disappeared. I don't know. Hopefully he made it right, or whatever happened. But I think they talked to TriStar about it, and I think TriStar actually changed the way they put things in their database to be more specific, to prevent that kind of thing happening in the future. Which sucks now, because Tom Brady left TriStar, but now we're back to square one with Fanatics, and all the problems we're going to have with them now.
But if it didn't happen, TriStar wouldn't have gotten their shit together. That's another
Maybe,
way of
maybe
looking
not.
at it.
Yeah, I mean, and I know, from what I've heard with Fanatics as well, is a lot of the Patrick Mahomes, who's also a very hot autograph now. Patrick Mahomes stuff went from reasonably priced to, he's headed towards Tom Brady price, and he's only won one Super Bowl. I
Yeah.
mean, it's $1,000 to buy a replica helmet now for Pat Mahomes, and you used to be able to get them for $200-300.
Well,
So,
he's the hot guy on TV. He's
and
got the State Farm commercial, so that's him.
well, and his autograph changed, right? Like he had a little more of an intricate autograph, and I actually have a helmet. I have a Blaze helmet from Kansas City that people that are Kansas City fans are always asking me to buy it from me when they see it on breaks or something right behind me. But it's a Blaze helmet. It has what they call his rookie signature, because it was a little more, of a signature. It actually looked like
Okay.
Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of these
An
guys
actual cursive signature.
Yeah, I mean, and as time goes on, these guys figure out like, man, it takes me a long time to sign this full autograph. So why am I going to spend all this time when I got to sign 1,000 jerseys? I'm just going to shorten this up and make it easy,
Yep.
make my life easy. And that's what Patrick Mahomes did. And now it's just a little P with a couple loops. And that's something that would easily be, that in my mind, you could easily forge that. I mean,
And I was going
it's
to bring
just,
that up because I seen
yeah,
his signature,
yeah,
and I didn't know that he had a cursive signature before he, I guess, made it, as big as he did. I did see the P with the two, they almost look like wheels,
yeah.
like you're drawing wheels on a car. And I thought, well, that's got to be kind of easy to do. And maybe because he doesn't sign a lot and there's more fakes than real ones out there. Who knows?
Yeah. So they're, be careful with any of the big guys. Just be careful. Look at the autograph, look at where the source you're getting it from, look at the cert, make sure it looks right. I mean, it's tough. I mean, and I don't want to scare people away from collecting memorabilia. There's a lot of legit stuff out there. It's just, try to be careful. And if you have questions, come ask. I mean, I'm happy to help anybody on the page.
It is a very good thing that you bring that up, Jack, because we do have some questions that were submitted earlier in the week. No. So let's go ahead and no particular order. Marianne Cano asks, what COA company is the best in your mind? I've been to her house a number of times, and she's got a lot of stuff that she collected herself.
Right.
And I know she's got season ticket booklets, and in some cases, the majority of it is it's completely signed.
Right.
Well, that her baseballs are all signed. So I know that I know where this question is coming from because she does have some valuable stuff that I would say, or maybe not valuable stuff, but signatures that are pretty rare nowadays.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
so I can see where this question is coming from. So good question, Marianne.
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of it is opinion, right? I mean, there's some people that swear by Beckett. There's some people that swear by, JSA. Other people that say, oh, JSA is the worst. Other people that say, oh, Beckett's the worst. You're always going to find somebody that has an opinion on an authenticator. I mean, but in my opinion, JSA and Beckett are probably the top right now. I mean, PSA DNA used to be in that arena, but I just think right now with the transition, with Steve Grad leaving, there's just a lot of questions at PSA DNA. I mean, we'll talk about that, I think, in another question here down the road here in a few minutes. But for my money, JSA is definitely one of the best, in my opinion. I mean, they're not going to be perfect. I know people will say like, like I said, no authenticator is going to be perfect, but JSA definitely would be one of my favorite. I think they're reasonable, and Beckett too is great. Beckett's great.
We get one from Mobas. You can never have a show without mentioning his name. He asks, what is the current grail? And in your mind, who has the best autograph?
Um, so I mean, a lot of athletes have great autographs. So I'll take that first. We talk a lot about on breaks. We pull Andre Dawson. Is
Yes.
just his autograph is just. I mean, it's nothing intricate about it, but it's just so perfect. I mean, just go look at an Andre Dawson autograph. It's just every time it looks the same, and it's so like perfect. I don't know how to explain it.
It
Um,
almost looks like a stamp. I mean, I can
yeah,
picture it in
it
my head.
does.
That's how nice it is, or at least
Yeah.
that's how unique. That's how specific it is that
Right.
I can picture it in my head, and it almost looks like tiny little clouds,
Yeah.
that just flow in the form of a signature.
I think Brian Cook collects Andre Dawson.
Dawson. Okay.
Yeah, and so I don't blame him. It's a really nice looking autograph. I think I think Evan Longoria had a pretty nice autograph. I say that because that's somebody I collected, obviously as a Rays fan. But there's a lot of athletes and professional sports that have nice autographs. The bus, Jerome Bettis, his autograph's very unique and it's big, which a lot of people like the big autograph. You don't like to get a helmet and have this little tiny autograph on it. Brett Favre, his signature gets smaller and smaller every year. Like if you look at items he signed recently, it's like so tiny. I mean, I was talking to Robert Allen about this the other day. I'm like, I don't know what his deal is, but it's like you look at his signature on something that he signed recently. It's so tiny. But it's obviously a matter of opinion. There's a lot of great signatures out there, but those are some of the ones I like.
All right, I got a couple of side questions. They didn't ask them, but I just came up with these. Penmanship. We talked about Andrew Dawson, having just beautiful penmanship, and we talked about Patrick Mahomes, just a P with two little circles.
Right.
How important to a collector? How important is penmanship? It's like, yeah, we got this person to sign my stuff, or I got something signed right there, right in front of me, but they did it super fast, as opposed to, hey, he really took his time. Does that go into consideration when you're collecting something,
I mean, I think it does. You
or
know,
is, or is the fact that the person signed it, is that more important sometimes than the way that the signature looks?
yes. I was gonna say, I mean, I think it's the person is the most important thing, right? I mean, if you really love a certain athlete, you may be disappointed in their autograph for the way
Yeah,
it looks, but you're still going to be excited to have it, right? Because it's a piece of that athlete, so to speak, or that celebrity or whoever you collect. And we talked a lot about athletes, but this goes for any autograph that you would collect. I mean, a lot of people collect actors and actresses and
yeah.
personalities and comedians, and I mean, just the list goes on and on. But this would apply to everyone, and most of these authenticators will authenticate any of those autographs.
All right, and then obviously we know Mo also asked about the Grail, so obviously we know that Babe Ruth is a major one out there, and I know that in the recent conversation we've had with all the
Yeah.
guys, Nick said that he would love to have a Babe Ruth one day.
Yeah, I think most people would. It's the tough thing with Babe Ruth, number one, there's a lot of fakes out there, so you gotta be very careful. Because it's obviously one of the higher dollar autographs that you can find. But with Babe Ruth, it's just a lot of the older balls. It's just his signature's faded away, and you'll see these balls that are selling for $6,000 and you can't even hardly see his autograph on the ball anymore. And it's
Yeah.
like, man, I feel like at some point the little bit that's even on there is going to disappear. So if you could find a Babe Ruth that actually is legit and it's like a dark signature or dark enough that hopefully it'll last another 50 years, and you can protect it with UV and all that protection. I mean, uh, that's a great piece to have. I mean, it's one of the most sought after items I think for any collector to get their hands on a decent Babe Ruth autograph. I'm in the same boat. I don't have a Babe Ruth.
And if you guys happen to have a neighbor that has a big ass dog, and the neighbor happens to be blind, hey, you never know. Maybe they played with the babe.
You need to go talk to him right away.
Yeah, and just be like, hey, what's going on? Before I go to your backyard, do you happen to have one in a cabinet there somewhere? Next question is going to be from Brian Lim. Brian says or asks, what is the worst audio that you have gotten?
um, personally, I'm trying to think. I mean, I haven't gotten a ton of stuff personally, except for Bucks players, just because that's where I was. Um, I'm trying to think if there's really anyone specifically. Not a bad autograph. I mean, it's not an intricate autograph, but Devin White, who I will say is a great guy. Like, it comes off like a great guy. He really is. Like, at camp, he'd sit there and sign everyone's autograph. When his rookie year, I mean, I don't know what he's like now, right? Super Bowl champ, but not that he has a bad autograph, but when I went to get the autograph from him, the pen, and we talk about this, right? Like, if you're going to get an autograph, have a good pen.
Yeah.
And I had a paint pen for this helmet and it wasn't really working too good, so he signed it and it was like, you know it didn't look good, obviously, because the paint wasn't flowing properly. So he went back over it.
Oh,
It was nice, right? Like, he was trying to fix it. I appreciated that. but I was disappointed. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I got this beautiful helmet to have him sign, and this stupid pen that I had. It's like, the moral of the story, I learned my lesson: always buy a fresh pen when it
I
comes to
wonder who
paint
had.
pens.
I do wonder who had the most awkward look at that specific moment. Who
He
probably just wanted to die inside,
I
or he
wanted to
didn't even
die.
notice that you wanted to die inside.
He knew. He was like I said. I mean, most athletes I think would just hand the thing back to you and be like, next thing, right? But he was trying to fix it. He was so nice. So I always remember that. I actually did end up getting rid of that helmet just because I'm like, man, it's just, this is tough. I can't look at this thing or be reminded of this. But so
All
not
right.
that he has a bad autograph. I mean, it's pretty simple, his autograph. It's like a DW. So one of those guys that just doesn't sign much. I don't think.
All right. Let's move on to a different part of memorabilia: cards. Ryan Rebow asks, card grading. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah.
Advice on card grading.
So I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't know a ton about card grading. What I do know is what I've read recently. Card grading has exploded, obviously, with the cards exploding during the pandemic. Everyone wants their card graded. And why is that? Because cards, when you grade them, they double, triple, quadruple, 5 times, the value of the card. So you can have a
Wow.
$10,000 card. If you get that graded and it's a 10, it's going to be worth 50,000. So people want that grade, right? So grading too, from what I understand with cards, is going to be based on the athlete as well and the type of card and everything. So a hot athlete that's going to bring a lot of money with a high grade, they're actually going to charge you a lot of money to grade that card. And this is through PSA DNA. They're the main grading company. Beckett also grades cards, and then you have some other companies that have kind of started up. SGC does some, and some other people are trying to get into it. But PSA DNA is the major player in card grading. They're the highest, most well respected. That's what people want, is the PSA DNA, PSA grading on their cards. So PSA had so many submissions that came in, and they've hired. I read an article today about it. They've hired. They've gone from like 300 employees to like 750 employees
Wow.
that are grading cards. I mean, these people are looking at cards probably 8 hours a day, right? But they are getting so many cards in, and they have so many cards sitting in their offices. They actually shut down grading and said, we can't take any more. We have to
Wow.
catch up. We have millions of cards sitting here that have not been graded because people are trying to jump on the bandwagon, get these things graded and flip them and maybe make it a business,
Yeah.
and make money off of it. And you get that. And sure. Many people are going to take advantage of that situation. So people are upset, right? Because they're expecting to get this card back, and the longer it sits there, sometimes those values come back down. Somebody
Yeah.
gets hot. John Morant, his cards are selling for thousands and thousands, and now maybe things have kind of cooled down a little bit. Well, not having your card graded back to sell that, you might have lost $1,000 in value while
Okay.
you're sitting there. So long story short, the prices have gone up. I think they're trying to deter people from grading common cards, just sending in tons of different submissions, because they're trying to limit what they have to do. And they're trying to catch up. They're not taking submissions currently. Once they reopen it, I mean, it's still going to be busy. So, I mean, you're going to be waiting time for these cards, and I think you're going to pay a good amount to get things graded as well. So, but people want those grades sometimes to make the extra money.
All right. And let's get to our last question for you here, Jack. And that is coming from Dan Montes. The best place to buy memorabilia. Obviously, there's the shops at the mall. There's always a bunch of different websites. You can win them obviously in your breaks. But if one wanted to go to a reliable place, I'm assuming a place where you can say, what, yeah, they got good stuff right over here. I've heard very good things about this specific place. Where would you send them to a new collector or someone that doesn't want to get played? I guess doesn't want to have a bad item, or a good selection of items that they can find down there, perhaps.
Yeah, so I mean, you're going to want to go to a legit direct from the company that's doing the signings. I mean, really, I mean, if you want to be 100% sure that things are legit, Fanatics, go on Fanatics website. They've got tons of autographed memorabilia from all different athletes. They're picking up more people every day. Like I said, they just picked up Tom Brady. And they're picking up other exclusive athletes. I mean, Fanatics is just becoming a giant machine in the industry, and they're going to only get bigger and bigger. So if you're getting stuff directly from Fanatics, that's safe. Third party, you're not so sure with their holograms. There's other companies though that sell stuff direct. Steiner, I believe, has a website that you can buy direct from them. There's some other good secondary companies like Denver Autographs. They do a lot of signings. They have a good website and they have reasonable prices. But there's several websites like that. Just ask around where people might buy things from. There might be local shops that are definitely legit. Like I have one here close by me that's it's called Creative. You might see those COAs on items sometimes. And they're definitely legit. They do a lot of signings during the year. But yeah, anybody that advertises signings online, jump into those, get it directly from the signing. You get a pretty good idea that's all going to be legit when things are being signed, on your item, or you're buying things from them from that particular signing.
Right. One another thing that I thought about too is I know that some teams what they're doing is they're selling game used items, and I know that game used items have always been a popular item in every stadium. But what they're doing now is they're selling a lot more specific things. A foul ball during
Yep.
this inning, a strikeout. It was swinging from this inning from this player, and for those collectors that want that specific player, it doesn't matter how it happened. I mean, might as well just grab it right then and there. It's already certified. It was involved in a play.
Yeah.
So
That's
I thought about that as you were talking about in the last answer that you were answering. I thought about that. I thought like, hey, there's a lot of different teams that are doing this now, so that would not be a bad way to get it, because they're also getting a Major League Baseball with it
yeah.
that you don't have to
Ma-
buy.
I think Major League Baseball is ahead of the curve on every sport, honestly, with their COA system. They have the MLB hologram, and they put, like you said, they put it in. I've seen them. You see them sit there. They get the ball off the field. They
Right
put the
away.
sticker on it, and they're putting it right into their little sheet, and it goes right into the database. And a lot of the teams will sell the game used items in their team stores. Or you can go online and they have auctions. The NFL does auctions as well. It's just they don't have
Yep.
as great of a COA system as MLB. MLB's got it all down. Pretty nice.
And they have a lot of minor league baseball stuff too
Yep,
in their
absolutely.
auction website. So yeah, no, that's pretty good, man. I think you gave a lot of information to a lot of different people today, and like you said earlier, you say you don't want to go down the rabbit hole because you can go pretty deep when it comes to all this stuff.
Yeah, there was one other thing I wanted to mention real briefly that I had missed is when we're talking about submitting items. There are services, and I know Bryce O'Hara made a comment about PSA quick opinion, that he didn't like it, that he thought I think it was very good. I've never really used PSA quick opinion, but PSA quick opinion, basically what that is you can send a picture of the autograph, or you can link to like an eBay auction, and you could get an opinion, basically a quick opinion, like within 24 hours, from an authenticator that says, yes, this most likely will pass full authentication, or no, this will most likely not pass full authentication. Like Bryce said, I don't know that the PSA DNA service has been super very recently. I mean, I think they're just saying no to a lot of things and taking your $10 or whatever it is. But if you want to use a service, I would recommend Beckett. Beckett has a quick opinion service, and we talked about that. You used that on some of the bobble graphs that you had, and got a quick opinion from Beckett. And it's not going to be perfect, and it's a yes or no that it'll likely or not likely pass. It doesn't say this is guaranteed. It's just, if you send this to us, we have a pretty good feeling that it'll pass. So I mean, if you want to get a quick opinion, that's a great service. You can get it on their app or go to their website, to Beckett's website. But I just wanted to mention that because it is a great service. I've used it several times to on certain purchases, and they said no good, so I didn't take the chance.
And it's good peace of mind on that,
Yep.
on that item, that okay, maybe it looks good, but I don't know if it is good. And
Right.
then you get that quick opinion and they say no, it's not good, then you feel good that you didn't have to spend money on something that was fraudulent. And
Exactly.
obviously if it's something good, it's a good feeling that you got something good in your hands.
Right.
So yeah, a lot of good questions from everybody, a lot of good questions from the members for Jack. Jack, do you have any questions for me?
Do you own any signed memorabilia?
Yes.
What is it?
Yes. Let me see. I have a couple baseballs, but I think they came in a bobblehead deal. And listen, before I sound like a fool, all right. I remember being a young buck going to Candlestick and taking a look at some of these players and how they signed and stuff like that. And all of that was very nice. Obviously, I'm a young kid, so I'm having a couple of players sign my glove, and 2 hours later, I'm playing with the glove, right?
Right.
So I didn't really learn, and when I did start kind of like learning about autographs, this is the main reason now that I don't do any memorabilia. I feel like it's never ending.
Yeah,
You know,
it's
you're
true.
never going to finish. And when it comes to bobbleheads or other possible collections, you're going to have almost like a list, an end game.
Yeah.
These are my grails. These are the ones that I need to get. And when it comes to autographs or memorabilia, there's always something dope happening in sports. There's always
Yeah.
going to be a dope new athlete that just hit the biggest home run in or caught the biggest touchdown. Now I gotta have them, and it's very very dangerous. So I chose between autographs or having a roof over my head, and
It's
yeah, the rain doesn't get in here.
a good
But
choice.
yeah, no, it's just a choice that I made, and I know that it's a very expensive choice, and I'm pretty sure that that played a big role also. Um, but I'm happy with I'm happy with the bobbleheads. I do have a couple of nice signed frames. I know that there's one, and I didn't know it was a very popular one, and it's Ken Griffey Jr. in
Oh,
three different
nice.
poses, and it's his whole swing, I guess, in three different frames. And I
Nice.
showed that to Nick, and he said, "Oh man, I've been looking for that specific one my whole life." One that I really like is Jonathan Sanchez. Jonathan Sanchez pitched a no hitter in San Francisco, and his dad was present. And I want to say that it happened on Father's Day, and that's why his dad was present.
Mhm.
But he threw a no hitter, and I thought that was pretty cool because I actually got to see that game. So it's pretty cool because at the time, Jonathan Sanchez too, he didn't he didn't put up with shit. He if someone messed with any of the Giants players, he was right there front and center to be like, hey, this is my team. And that's
Right.
something that a Giants fan kind of like knew that he was dope like that. He was cool. And I have another one that's actually pretty cool. I have Joe Frazier. Now I know
Oh,
a lot of people collect, older ones. I know a lot of people will say, "Well, Muhammad Ali is a nice grail to have." Well, Ali wouldn't have been Ali. I think that if he doesn't go through all these big fights that he went through, and obviously the three fights that he had with Frazier were, they were great.
yeah.
So to have Frazier, and it was given to me, so I get
Smoking
to see.
Joe.
Pretty cool. Yeah, there you go. And it's him with his face all battered, which is actually pretty cool that he actually signed that. His face is all jacked up, probably from Muhammad Ali kicking his ass.
I'm really excited actually for a new autograph, and it's probably stupid, but it's from the Super Bowl win from the Bucks, and I never thought it would come to be because I didn't think he would, like you said, I didn't think he would sign the photo, but it's the peace sign to Tyreek Hill, or I love
You
it.
can, you can you can go you can put that right behind the bobblehead.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that bobblehead coming out and you customizing that for me,
I'll
hopefully.
add a finger to it. I'll add a finger to it. It should be pretty good. Let's go ahead and let's finish up here. So
Yeah.
again, all that information. Hopefully, it's helpful to some of you guys, and hopefully, you're able to use that information to make your collecting a little bit better, to be a little more careful with your collecting, and to be able to maybe help somebody else out that may have some questions that you at one point had. So thank you, Jack, for all of that information. Uh, let's go ahead and let's tell them what's going to happen in the next show. We're obviously going to have a lot of different bobbleheads that are going to be coming out this weekend. We're going to have a number of these bobbleheads coming out. So what do we got, Jack?
The first thing I think that's coming out this weekend will be on Friday, is Otani. We talked about that with Cancun Kenny last show. He will be there at that game to get that bobblehead, so that'll be available from Kenny if you need one.
And
I
that's going to
believe
be
it's
Otani with
yeah,
the baseball bat swinging on top of a unicycle to signify the cycle that he had last year.
yeah, absolutely.
A little bit
So,
different.
and I think the Rangers have one coming up, right?
On Saturday, we are going to have on the page, and of course, our very own Armando Avila is going to be there getting the first pitch triple bobblehead. We still don't know if it's going to be full size. We obviously hope that it is full size, but it is going to have George Bush Sr., George Bush Jr., and it's going to have Nolan Ryan, all three bobbleheads on one base. And that's going to be happening on Saturday at the Texas Rangers game. As you guys know, again, both of our admins are going to have these two bobbleheads, the Otani and the first pitch. And we have one more giveaway, and that's also going to be taking place on Saturday. And that is, Jack, go ahead and let them know. This was going to be very special, I think.
The Eric Davis Funko Pop. Now, Funko Pops are really popular, it seems like, recently, and a lot of people collect Funko, but they're also going to have some limited silver editions. Now, I didn't see anything about whether how many they're going to be releasing, so it'll be interesting to see if any of our members pick up the silver edition. I'd love to see a picture of that.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty cool. We don't know how many they're going to have. Like Jack said, we don't know what people plan on doing with them. When the Mariners tried it a couple of years ago, or when they did it, I should say, they had, I believe, 24 of them that were gold, the gold Funkos. And we talked about it on the last show. One of them is being sold for close to $9,000 right now, if not a little bit over $9,000. I know that the set of three that were given away randomly in St. Louis the last year before COVID, which is 2019. And that one was Yadi Molina. And it was just a regular one, a silver one, and a gold one. And all three of them were being raffled for about $500 at one point, from what I would see. So this one, who knows how many they're going to have? It's going to be silver. I don't know if there's a specific reason for the silver. Not that there's anything wrong with it. Don't get me wrong. I'm just curious as to why they did silver. We'll see what the value is with this. I know that Cincinnati's got a lot of good collectors out there, so we'll see what they're going to want to do with this one.
Yep, and so wrap up. I mean, if anybody has questions about COAs, definitely hit me up after the show and let me know, and I can try to help you with that. We try to cover everything. It's just there's so much that we could cover. I mean, I could talk probably for another hour about COAs.
And I definitely learned a lot on this one too. And now I know what kind of stuff to look for when Marianne asks me something, or when I take a look at signatures myself. I got to take a look to see what some of these specific things I mean, the angle of the pen, that's something that it's pretty interesting to me, that they take a look at
Yeah.
points that they press, and then some of the loops. I mean, all that stuff is it's pretty good to know. And it's good for people to be able to go back to the show every once in a while if they're going to purchase something, if they have some questions. Just pop it in there, good hour and a half, and next thing you know, hey, you're well informed before you buy your first big piece.
Yep, absolutely. It's a good start to kind of start digging in.
And, all right, guys, thank you, and have a very good night, and let's talk next time.